Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our fourth episode in the series 2 of Clutter Talk. And today we have a wonderful speaker for you coming in called Zhang from Dunfermline, and she's going to be educating us in the arts of Feng Shui and Zen. And let's bring in our other two members from Glasgow. We have Elaine McKinlay and Clara of Joy of Space. So I can ask them both to turn their videos on and unmute. There we go. Clara should be coming in soon. But Elaine, how are you? Good morning.
Good morning. I'm fine, thanks. Yeah, not too bad this morning. Bit chilly here in Scotland. I think the temperature's changing slightly. So yeah, I'm doing good, thanks. Yeah. What about yourself? How are you doing?
I'm well. I'm just sorting out my earpiece. Clara, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Yes, just really enjoying the fact that we've got sunshine today instead of rain, and just enjoying a slower week where I've spent time with family. We went on a trip on Friday doing the 84-mile round train on the Harry Potter Express, the Jacobite steam train. So that was lovely, really enjoyable. And I found a lovely Marie Curie quote: "One never notices what has been done, one can only see what remains to be done." So I've spent the week just enjoying thinking about all the things that have been done and not focusing on what needs to be done, just really doing essentials and enjoying family time, enjoying my home. So how about you, now that your earpiece is fixed? How about you, Zem?
Yeah, no, I think so. I was just sort of thinking about your train journey, and I've been really enjoying the changing in the leaves and just the turning, and just I'm really keen on this idea of sort of transition times, like dawn and dusk, and I don't think we spend enough time enjoying them. We're always up for wanting the perfect finish, the end point, but I think actually for me it's the spending more time in those transitions of sort of waking up, going to sleep, sort of autumn, spring, and that's when you get this wonderful diversity. So I've been really enjoying the colors on the beech trees of the oranges, the yellows, the greens, the browns, and now the shapes of the trees are starting to come out as the leaves fall. And so that's what I've kind of been enjoying. And lots of rainbows, actually. They've been pretty good as well here in the Forest of Dean, where I'm still stuck. How's Glasgow? Tell me what.
Yeah, I don't know. I think possibly we may be heading into sort of more of a lockdown like England. I think just to save the hospitals a little bit. Although let's hope that we don't, because there's a lot of people who are still feeling a bit anxious about being isolated again. So we don't really want that to happen again. But the great thing is that the government guidelines for us working is that if we have got vulnerable clients that we need to see, we can go and help them. So, I mean, I think that I've just been kind of reassuring clients this week about, not to get too anxious or not thinking too far ahead. Let's take each day as they come. And we'll sort things out as they progress, because I think sometimes we can get too engrossed in thinking about what's going to happen or the worst scenario. So I think we just have to go with the flow, as they say. Yeah,
I think that's so true. I had an email from a friend who said, I mean, it's a military metaphor, which is kind of ironic considering she's a Quaker, but it was like, you kind of go forward with a sort of military plan, but as soon as you kind of contact the enemy, the plan changes. You have to, and I feel that that's what it's like at the moment, is that you can go forward with a plan, but then it changes. But as soon as you contact reality of what's going on the ground, you have to alter your plan. And so I think it's that trying to get that balance between creating plans so you have a sense of moving forwards, but also being able to change your plan when circumstances change. And it's that sort of, I think it's we're being challenged at the moment to have that creative, flexible thinking whilst keeping something steady going on. And so
I decided that with November I was going to do a focus on gratitude. So because things are changing all the time and we just don't know what's going to happen, are we going to be put into tier 4 to a full lockdown? My way of adjusting to that is each day being grateful for things that we still can do and the things we still can share. Like Elaine and I bumped into each other yesterday in Silverburn Shopping Centre and had an impromptu at 2 separate tables at 2 different sides of the Dunkin' Donuts. We had a coffee and a donut. This week we could do that. Next week, perhaps not. Perhaps non-essential shops will be shut. We don't know. So I'm just concentrating on being grateful for what I do have in my life at this moment. And I don't know about either of you, but I've enjoyed taking life a bit slower in the last week, because I found that life had got a lot quicker, and there were elements to when we were in earlier lockdown times that just having to slow down, there were some benefits from that, although obviously no one wants a pandemic.
No, let's I think it'd be interesting to talk a little bit about gratitude. So just to explain to viewers as well who each of us are. So I'm Dr. Zem Moffat, and my big thing is I founded a group called Clutter, which is a peer support group which anyone can join at the moment. We're all on Zoom, it's brilliant. And it's sort of an ongoing peer support group for those experiencing kind of chronic clutter, who really just need that sort of gentle encouragement. And over to my left, I don't know how that looks on your screen. Is it your right or your left? We've got Elaine McKinlay of Clear Mountain, and Elaine's USP is what, Elaine?
Well, I am a motivational coach, really. So I do not only decluttering, I do lifestyle organizing as well. So when I go into clients, I look at the actual physical items that need to be removed, but also in your mind, body, and soul, if you like. That's another good word. So yeah, I'm looking at a big picture of decluttering your life, really. So yeah, that's me.
Brilliant. And down the bottom of the screen, we've got Clara of Joy of Space.
Hi, yeah. So
and Clara, what's your USP?
I really like working with people to look at their habits and their habitat and look at, are they working for them towards how they want to be? And looking at, are their dreams and their wishes and their hopes actually current to them? Or are they things that they perhaps have got stuck in? Clutter is all about feeling stuck, and I work with the Marie Kondo method. I also look at lifestyle. So that's what I do. I like to work gently with people and at their own pace, and it's always their choice.
Brilliant. And the speaker that we'll be bringing in shortly is called Jane Zhang Rice, and she is based in Dunfermline in Scotland, and her USP is Feng Shui and Zen. So she's going to be telling us a little bit about that history, and we're going to be talking about flow and where to put mirrors in your bedroom, and sort of practical to the bigger sort of spiritual, sort of metaphorical, existential almost questions that come our way. If any of you have any questions, please do message us on the YouTube channel. Elaine's going to be keeping an eye on that. We have a few questions coming up. So one question that we'll answer later, which is the one about where to put your mirror in your bedroom. But another question we had was from Elaine, a different Elaine in Barhead. And Elaine asks, what's the percentage of people recycling at the moment? Are there more? So maybe in Scotland or the UK, what do we think? Is it changing, the amount of recycling? I'm not sure. When lockdown happened, I certainly noticed in our back courts, which is where you put the rubbish in Scotland, in out back, there was a decrease in the amount of rubbish. But then there's been a limit to how much we can get to recycling things. And I know our pickups, the council pickups have reduced. But I don't know, what in your experience, Elaine, Clara, can you even guess at a percentage of how much we recycle?
I think certainly with the people that I work with, the actual trend is definitely they want to recycle rather than bin. Let's use the word bin, but get rid of stuff that way. The problem came, as you've mentioned, Zem, when we couldn't put out things to be recycled because basically it just wasn't getting lifted up and it wasn't going to recycling. So I think a lot of people have stored more stuff in their home on the pretense that when things open up, and things have started to open up now, that they go and they definitely recycle properly. So I think for the people that I work with, I think I'm talking about possibly 80% of people are really committed to recycling properly, both clothes, items, or donating things on. So I think probably about 80% of the people that I work with.
I would agree with you, Elaine. I would say that sort of figure as well. And certainly when I've been handing in donations from clients into charity shops, I've heard countless times people, general members of the public saying, oh, I'm so glad that the charity shop's open because I've been decluttering and I've had all this sitting in cupboards, sitting in my house. I didn't want to just throw it away. I wanted it to be of use. I didn't want it to go to landfill. So I think a general feeling is that a lot of us want to recycle. We have that willingness and commitment to recycling. It's just been a bit more difficult because of lockdown and the availability to hand things into the recycling centres or charity shops. But I think we've also all been thinking creatively. And I have also heard people countless times say, I've got round to that project that was outstanding. I've been in my food cupboards. I've donated to the food bank. So I think there's positives come from it as well. So I think that things have been getting recycled and donated that wouldn't necessarily normally be. They might have gone out of date or been damaged by damp. I have a client who has a mouse in his old-fashioned larder, and he's had a real commitment to doing that, to declutter so that things can get used instead of getting damaged.
And I think there's maybe also a change in, there's a couple of things, but a change in people not simply recycling, but reusing or upcycling, so changing. So we had Rags to Riches on before in the last series, and with Blanche, and her shop, is all about reusing and upcycling fabrics and tin cans and creating beautiful things out of them, which we've covered before. And I think that, well, certainly for me, like I enjoy in the place, like seeing what I can do with what I've got around me, rather than automatically going out to a shop, charity shop, or on the internet to find something that's just right, actually adapting what I have around me to work. And I sense that, I hope that is becoming more and more. And I know that there's a lot of my clients get stuck because they want to recycle, but they don't trust that recycling is actually a good process. We've heard all the stories of just all our plastic being shipped to China and being sent back, and actually energetically, does that make sense? Does it? It might sort of be a little plaster, a panacea going, it might make us feel good, oh, I put it in the recycling bin, but at the end of the equation, does it make sense? So Elaine, I can see you nodding. You have something to say on this matter.
Yeah, it's interesting because, as Clara said, that because we have some more time, actually here in my home, we have recycled, or we have repurposed two things. We had an old pallet that something came in, and it was at the back of the shed, and I had always an idea to do something with that pallet. So actually during the summer, we changed that pallet into a herb garden on the wall, a vertical standing herb garden. So that was the first thing. And the second thing was that we bought 2 giant whiskey barrels and we repurposed them into a new water butt. We painted them all up, sanded them down, painted them all. It was a little project we did. And we've got a new water butt. And we've also got a little or a high table that we can bring out. The other one is into a high table where we can put our umbrella on. We can sit in like our own little bar stools at this. So we've had joy in repurposing things. And I think people are coming around to thinking about that more as well. What do we have in our home that we're not using in that way, but we can actually use in another way? So I think, you know, the slight advantage of having time to think about things in a different way may help us to go forward when we're thinking about, instead of throwing something out, can we repurpose something, or can it be recycled in a different way? So I think in that way, I think times are changing.
I agree with you, Elaine, and I think for people who don't want to undertake a big project at the moment, but maybe in the future, there are other ways that we can recycle and pass on enjoyment for things that are in our house. I have gone blonde during lockdown, although my hair, I've just had a bath this morning, so it's a bit, but instead of giving a tip to the hairdresser who just got married during lockdown, I knew she loved drinking herbal tea, and I had an Art Deco teapot that I didn't want to keep, so I gave her that wrapped up as a gift, as a tip, instead of giving her a monetary tip. And she was delighted because she'd just been having that conversation with her new husband that, oh, it would be good to not have to keep topping up my tea in my cup. And he was saying, well, you really need a teapot. So it was timely as well. And I had an extra vase I wasn't using, and I was given a bunch of mixed flowers that I didn't enjoy. So I put them in the vase and handed them into the school office, and I'd been given a big tub of chocolates that I didn't want to keep because we would just eat them all the time. And I handed them into the ladies in one of my daughter's school office, and they were happy because it was something, to get that. That's a sign I shouldn't be using my hands so much when I talk. It's making the cat want to chase me. But yeah, they appreciated that, and then I didn't feel bad about not enjoying the flowers or not wanting to have these chocolates in my house. So we can also repurpose what we have without having a big project, maybe as a step forward to the project.
And I think what's great about that is that I think you're challenging as well this what people have when you get the sense that you've been given a gift, that you have to enjoy it rather than that freedom to be able to pass it on. And I think I like to give gifts and go, you know, you can have it for as long as it brings you joy, but please don't feel obligated to keep it. I know that we're friends, I know that, you know, we're sisters, or I know that we love each other, so please feel free to pass it on. And I think there's often, I'd love to encourage that culture more than people feeling hurt or offended if you pass a gift on. And I think that's something that creates a lot of clutter for me in my clients' lives, because they feel obligated to hold on to something. But I think that is kind of really interesting about as an anthropologist, it's really interesting about our gift giving culture, about how we give and exchange and the obligations and all that. Clara's smiling. Anyway, I'm rabbiting on in my lecturing mode. I think we should move. Well, interestingly, I'm warbling now. But at the end of the program, Clara's going to introduce our speaker or talk about our speaker for next week, who I think will join in this sort of repurposing theme. So that's something to sort of keep thinking on in the back of the mind. But at the moment, what we're going to do is we're going to introduce Jane Zhang Rice. So Elaine, could you give an introduction? What I'm going to do is I'm going to let her in from the waiting room, and I'm also going to share screen and flash up her website whilst you speak.
Okay, so just if you've joined us, you're on Clutter Talk Live on the Clutter Chat YouTube channel, and we are professional organisers and members of ABTO, the Association of Professional Declutterers and Organisers. We've got Dr. Zem Moffat, Clara Moore, I'm Elaine McKinlay, and we have our special guest, Zhang Rice, who is coming on, and we are all members of ABTO. And we all specialise in different things. And Jane is specialising in the art of Feng Shui and Zen. And she's going to talk a little bit about that in a moment when she pops on. Also, just to remind you that it's National Organising Week. It's the 2nd to the 8th of November. And on the ABTO website, you can see lots of different things that are going on throughout the week. Obviously, last week we had Rosie Barron on, and her blog was up yesterday, and there's different things going on today. I'm posting some little videos this week, some little top tips on my social media. So there's lots of different things going on. But generally, if you are, no matter where you are in the country, you can pop onto the ABTO website and type in "find an organizer," and you'll find any of us there. There's about 380 of us throughout the UK. And welcome to Jane.
Hello. Hi everyone. Hi again. I just want to say I so much enjoy just watching you. All the topics, I don't even know where to start. I resonate with all of them. I was like, wow, that's great. Where do I even start? So I want to start with a quote, because you all started, this morning with great quotes. I remember you talking about them, you talking about, planning, how planning become, somehow useless. But it's in our nature to plan for a lot of people, especially for organizers like us. I just remember this great quote from Eisenhower, the American president who was also the general during Second World War, that plans are useless, but planning is essential. I'm a strong believer of that, yeah. Mm-hmm. And your topic is all about recycling and repurpose, reuse, reduce. I am very, very passionate. I think a lot of people like us, professional organizers, declutterers, we have this natural tendency want to reduce waste. My target at home, you're talking about all the small changes we can do, is actually make conscious effort even more during this, really strange period. I mean, to use what's already in there. I managed to make more curry with the spice left in there, sort of, because spice lasts a long time. We like to talk about use by date, the difference between use by and best before and all that. I managed to make more, sort of do more cooking, make more use of my collection of spice. That's something I'm really happy about. And also just this one of the small things is that's one of the little things I've changed in my own home and made a bit difference. And I feel good about doing something good for the planet. And anyone wants to take a guess what this is actually?
It's a loofah.
Yes, yes, great. It's a loofah, yes.
Sorry, Clara was about to jump in.
Well,
yeah, I knew it. Yeah, do you have this as well?
I have that, and I use it to clean my dishes.
Oh yes, it's great. A lot of people use it for cleaning, like, in the shower or something, but it's great for cleaning dishes. Actually, even better, because if you have sensitive skin, you have to test it first, whether it's suitable for your skin type. But for cleaning dishes in the kitchen, it's just so great. It's 100% natural. And we all try to diversify our business. I mean, during this strange period, that's one of the things we sell from our zero waste shop. Means everything can be recycled, and this is 100% plant-based.
And it's a plant, isn't it, Jane?
Yes, exactly. It is a plant. It's something looks a bit like a cucumber. Yeah. Ah. When it gets old, beyond the
marrow, cucumber.
Exactly. It's in the same family.
And so, where does it? Do you know where it grows in the world?
It grows in warmer climate, so I'm afraid it's a bit too cold for Scotland. Not to say we can't try, because I'm a king gardener as well, right? I have friends that grow grapes. Normally, you don't grow grapes in Scotland, but has some success, so you can try to grow it. But that's one of the things. I mean, you can, do something good for the planet, really. Yeah.
Good. Maybe some of your green fingers can pass over onto Clara, because Clara is says that she's not green fingered, but I think there might be hidden green fingers in her. She just hasn't found them yet.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much we can do to start with. I mean, to do the exercise, that's one of the things. I'm not so much a runner myself, so gardening is one of the things. So I just have so much to say about how much I resonate with all your topics. But really, what we really have in common, the biggest thing is we are professional organizers, members after. I just want to share a little bit about how I started this journey.
Yeah, please do. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Kind of listened to your show before. It's like a lot of it has to do with traveling. I mean, Zem, you mentioned you travel a lot. I mean, when sort of before you became professional organizer, I was the same. It's funny. I have a mom and dad who are really the different end of the spectrum of from being highly organized to no order whatsoever. But they both are wonderful parents. So I always have this tendency. This is where I share with my clients. I can totally understand the need to collect things, that I feel comfortable being surrounded by things, to the end, the being organized. I can understand both, being kind of raised by parents like that. What I discovered is like, now I'm sort of getting older and lived a life, and the need through, years of traveling, moving, having too much stuff. And to the point Zam mentioned, you sort of lost stuff. I miss the flight. I mean, I miss the whole sort of, I've never going back to the airport. It's such a sort of terrible experience, but that's really to me, that's a wake up call. I needed some order in my life and start sort of simplifying my life. Really, this journey started more than 10 years ago. I mean, that's when I sort of start recall how much sort of pleasure organizing used to give me when I was little, and seeing my dad's teddy drawer. I mean, he's one of these men, when he, used to go on sort of business, sort of traveling, you open his suitcase. Wow. I mean, everything has a place. I mean, it's maybe the male version of Marie Kondo or something, but I loved all that. So that's when I start thinking I need some structure. And that's when I sort of start getting really interested in this kind of Scandinavian sort of lifestyle and interior and all that, where I actually sorry.
Yeah, no, I was saying that's the one that we spoke about before, is the hug and what's the Swedish one again?
Logom.
Yeah. And that kind of simplicity and enjoying every object, and really kind of making sure that you just have kind of one object that really works, but enjoying it and celebrating it. Yeah, and I think we all resonate, actually. It's interesting you picked up on the traveling idea, because one of my favorite moments was when I was saying that I also spent time in Hong Kong, and I was asking you where you were from in China, and my granny had died and left me, bless her, she'd saved up a lot of money. She'd left me £1,000, which I then spent on traveling from Hong Kong to Bradford by train. And what I loved was having my backpack and knowing exactly my hand where I'd put it and what I would find in the backpack. And it was just brilliant, sort of traveling through and knowing exactly where everything was. And then I loved, like loved that feeling you said with your partner you were traveling with, he knew where everything was. And it's knowing, I think when you're traveling a lot, it's knowing where you are.
Yeah.
It's that kind of existential question about knowing where you are, because you know where your things are.
Yeah. I mean, we all love the idea of, you don't always have a sort of a destination purpose in life, but there are things that you can control. I mean, that's what make us human beings sort of feel more secure and uncertain. That's how I felt. I mean, really, I kind of sort of got introduced to this online sort of American site, sort of online organizing license. That's how I started, sort of trying to organize my own life. And that sort of combined with, what Clara said before, relationship change. I met my then boyfriend and husband. And I moved in.
Sorry, I'm just going to interrupt, Jane. What was the American thing that you called?
It's just an online organizing course.
Online organizing course.
Yeah.
Online. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's not face to face.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I kind of my boyfriend at that time, he's based in Dunfermline, and I was in Glasgow at that time. And when we moved in, sort of, you can imagine two sets of things with everything. I mean, that's when I felt I had this stronger need for sort of simplifying things. So it all start with sorting my own life and all that. Then, as you know, when you get together, I mean, you have kids and all that. So when our son was born, as you feel even more so stronger need to have this work-life balance. And I was commuting a lot between Glasgow and Dunfermline. That wasn't pleasant. And so after my son was born, I sort of started balancing my own life and start this business called Decluttering and Organising. I found Abdul and found all of you. That's how it really started. Yeah, it's yes, always start with sorting my own life. When I feel more at ease, then start helping clients to find peace. I mean, in their own life, sometimes using the techniques of feng shui. Yeah, that's my story.
Well, that's what we're going to move on to, and we're really pleased to have you on this call, because what we want to know about is, which I think you know a bit more about, but is the origins of feng shui and of Zen, and how the the Chinese, Japanese, sort of Korean, you know, all those sort of ideas of simplicity, how they cross sort of over time as well. And I'm really interested as an anthropologist how that works. I really do love though the concept that you've given us of traveling, and how often a lot of, like last week, you know, she was our guest was a traveler, you know, and it really does prompt you to figure out what is it that I essentially need to get from place to place. But before we go into the history of it, I'm going to flash up the APDO website so people know how to find these organisers across the country. And maybe Clara or Elaine can just kind of chat people through it whilst
I'll do it for a change.
Clara or Elaine, whilst I share screen.
So APDO is the Association of Professional Organisers and Declutterers across the UK, but we do have some American and overseas members as well. Every year there is usually a conference where we meet up and share knowledge, and but you'll find people on APDO in your area who advertise exactly what their unique skills are, and it's a good idea to, as a starting point, put in your postcode and have a look at what each individual person in your area is advertising, because it has to be a good match for you with them. If you're inviting someone into your space, then you want to make sure that that's the right person for that right moment in your life. Okay,
Clara. So I'm on the website now. Someone give me a postcode, and we'll do a random search.
PH3, is that a postcode? PA3.
I don't know.
PA3.
PA3.
Yeah.
Okay. PA3. Yep, so we have, so that's Paisley area, is it? That's Scotland. Oh, we have All About the Move, Zoe Miller. Clear Mountain and Joy of Space, that's you, Clara. Oh, All About the Move too, we've got Catherine Woods. And Better Organised, we know Kate from Milgai. Oh, and me, there we go. So that's what viewers have to do. And on the APDO site, you can find an organiser closest to you, and also find them by specialism. So now a lot of us are doing a lot more virtual stuff. If you think, you know what, Jane, are you doing virtual stuff now?
Yes, I do some of it.
Yeah. So do you know what? I just want a session just to sort out where to put the mirror in my bathroom or the mirror in my bedroom, you know, or to maybe do something a little bit more deep. but we can see, I'm not, facetiousness aside, but you can find Jane on the APDO website and get in touch. If there's something in particular, or you're concerned about yourself, or you suffer from hoarding or feng shui, or you want virtual, or you just want to organize your office, or you want someone who's really keen on eco stuff, on recycling, then you can find someone who isn't necessarily geographically close to you but has that specialism, which I think is a great new thing that COVID has actually opened up for us, talking of things to be grateful for.
Yeah.
Clara has left the screen. Wonderful. We will, well, since she's gone.
A charger because
Excellent.
my son was using the laptop.
Whilst Clara charges herself,
I thought
Jane,
you went to the cat.
please
Sorry.
give us some of the history towards feng shui and Zen.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
To start with, I mean, because Zem has academic background. In my previous life, I was sort of academic as well. So when I got invited and talk this, my first instincts, I have to dig a little deeper now. Then I realized my viewers like maybe fall asleep, but I start talking about that. So really, to put it simply, it's feng shui is a kind of art. It's a philosophy. It's a culture phenomenon. It's based on experience. It has scientific elements, but it's not science. I would summarize as that. So when you see the character, the Chinese character feng shui, you don't mind me share the screen? And
No, yeah, share it.
okay, right, okay. Sorry, I wasn't able to make a screenshot of it. Just
Oh, that's working. Yeah, really well.
so when you see these two character feng shui, it literally means wind and water. And viewer might think, what does wind and water to do with me? We know we have a lot of water and wind in Scotland, but really, what does it do? But that term actually is to do with, I would say, a lot to do with your living and how you sort of make the most of your living, adjust your living environment, and choose the right setting for you. I would think that's a more better description of feng shui. So it's, to a certain extent, it asks ultimate question: how do you see yourself in this world? How do you how do you see your relationship with items, with our surroundings, our environment? That's what's about. And really, I mean, when it comes to the theoretical base, it comes from a Chinese classic called I Ching, which is also known as the Book of Change. So when you hear the word Book of Change, and focus on change, if any of you does meditation, have any mindfulness practice, you will know change is a concept of Buddhism as well. So if there's anything constant in this world, it is about change. That means when it comes to feng shui, later on we'll talk about how you organize things. Nothing stays the same forever, which is good for us. I mean, because we like organizing. Clutter, part of the clutter problem is we are sort of lingering on what happened in the past. So we kind of, for us doing decluttering, kind of connect with the concept of change, of good feng shui. It's all sort of interconnected, if you will. And how sort of is kind of practiced these days, because I Ching is a theoretical base, and it's a very complex book about philosophy, astronomy, and mathematics as well. So I don't claim to know, sort of big part of I Ching. I had a client in St. Andrews who was hugely interested and actually read I Ching, the translation, the book many times, but really keen to discuss it with me. But really, I mean, even sort of I call myself sort of well-educated person, I wasn't able to discuss a lot of the contents with her. mean, where I got my sort of knowledge about a feng shui is coming from my granddad, who was educated in the old Confucius way. So he was a master of I Ching. That's where, all this feng shui practice based on. These days.
That's amazing, Jane. So your grandfather was a master of I Ching.
Yeah, that's right.
So what, like, learning from your granddad, what were the sort of the main things that you learned from him, just through his habits? Or
that's quite interesting question asked. One of the things, particularly with women, I think is like when we get older, we get be more comfortable with who we are, how we live our lives, things you're more comfortable with. And in my 20s, when I was younger, I was like, because these days we're kind of brought up in the so-called, sort of modern sort of different academic disciplines. And I wasn't really didn't pay much attention to my, there you go, very good. That's I Ching, that's right, well done. I was very close to my granddad, and I love the poetry, the Chinese poetry that he used to teach me. But really, I Ching is something and beyond a little girl could understand. I had books from him, but really, I didn't know much about it till he passed away, and he gave my dad a lot of his books. And a lot of his, now I actually rediscovering some of the stuff. I have this very old book here. You can tell part of it is just maybe dating back, maybe, I don't know. This book is certainly older than me, to put it this way. That's when I really kind of started, sort of connect with, what he was sort of teaching. To give you an example, before the the lockdown started, we went to visit Dollar Castle. I don't know any of you been there. It's one place I'd highly recommend it. We just went there and walking, and by the time we got to the castle, I was standing there. Just you get a wonderful view of the whole the river and everything. My first reaction was, this place has amazing feng shui. It's really good feng shui. And my husband is like, how do you know? And that's when I start explaining. You see this picture here? I don't know if our viewers can see it. This is this what describes the good feng shui of a place. You can see the mountains to the back. Very, the saying, I have your back. This house has a mountain, have its back. So feel securely located. And you have the river to the front. Can you see it? The river to the front. And river also means good fortune, change. You get wonderful view. You feel secure. That's where all the positive energy comes in. And I was standing and, just looking at this amazing view. I just felt so pleasant. My husband felt the same. He felt the same. But there are times that you can't explain why you feel so good or feel so bad about the place. Often that's to do with feng shui.
So behind you have the security of the mountain, and in the front you have the flow of change happening. And what was it you said? The two, it's wind and water. Was wind that the two symbols?
Wind and water. That's a symbol, and it's all to do with our viewers. If they have sort of any sort of, if you have any sort of understanding about feng shui, you probably heard of the idea of qi. And what is qi? To put it simply, I would say is energy. And you get good energy, positive energy. You get maybe negative energy or not so good energy. And to give you
Jane, we've had one question come in, which is about bedrooms.
Yeah, go ahead.
Which I think kind of ties in well to where we're at in the conversation. And the question is, if you have bed facing the door and a window to the right of the bed, where would you position a mirror? And I think Clara has a very similar question. Clara, what's the situation in your bedroom?
I have a very unusually situated door, Jane, which is right in the middle of the wall. So wherever I put my bed, it's going to either face the window, the door, and is it right that if it faces the door, that's the coffin position? Is that?
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
you know a lot about feng shui. Yeah.
I know something of it, and so this is my bedroom, and I can't change the children to it because my bed wouldn't fit in their bedroom. They've got a single bed. I've got a king size bed. My window is to the left, and I also have a rate. So there's the window to the left, door in the middle, and the radiator to the right. So it's a very badly designed architecturally.
I totally resonate with you. You know, one of the things like I sort of work with actually, we're doing some renovation in our own house at the moment. And we have architects coming in who so totally understand the idea. Sometimes you can't put a name to it. You just feel this space is not right. Something's not right. A lot of the ideas, you know, sort of I gather, you know, the architect totally agree with it. And what they discovered is actually one of the Singaporean-based architect. He's sort of educated, I think, in the UK and all that, where feng shui is not taught as part of the, you know, its course, you know, going to university. Well, in sort of East Asia, feng shui is part of the course. It's not mandatory, but architects in training need to understand this is, you know, the needs of the client. They may need this sort of, you know, setting and all that. So he totally gets the idea. And what this Singaporean-based architect, what he did a little test using a little bit like a kind of windmill. Oh, sorry, not windmill, more like a sort of so electricity generator. Maybe you've seen one of these in one of the, I don't know, science center in Glasgow or something, using the water. And he managed to sort of, because it's the wind, get the water going and all that. And he tried it in this, in front of this house where the feng shui master said the qi was not flowing quite rightly. And he did all this tests. Amazingly, what he found, what the feng shui master said was actually correct. Before they did all the adjustment, the qi was not flowing. The little machine she designed just not working. So there are some things we can't see, like qi. Doesn't mean, you know, it's not there just because we can't see. Yeah.
It's interesting in interior design as well, as you're talking about the structural architecture bit, but also in interior design. And I do some home staging for people when they're selling their home, and just something like the bedroom, you know, people have got their beds in the wrong position, and so when a viewer would come in, they're hit with sort of the bed, you know, and so they don't see the room. So I always suggest that the bed tries to be on the wall that the door is on, so that when you open the door, you go in and it's the room that you see rather than the bigger structures. And also for airflow, as you're saying, so the qi or the airflow of any home, in order for it to flow freely, we need to have like that clutter-free aspect in our home as well, which obviously we all come across, you know. And it's interesting how people's well-being changes when we help them to remove, you know, the amount of clutter that's in their home, and actually subconsciously let the air flow around, you know, around them, around the home, you know, just, and the actual, you know, the actual physical things that you see in people's bodies is I don't know if any of the other girls have noticed that, but
totally resonate with that.
You know, the actual physical thing you see when they're actually, you know, receiving that airflow or just the flow, the energy flow, I think can be a tremendous help, especially for mental health. I think, you know, I think you'll find that, Jane. But I just think that that's such an important thing, and you don't have to, you know, go down the road of being totally feng shui or whatever it is that you want to do. But these are some small things, and we're talking about change, that we can all do in our homes to help our well-being, as well as the energy or the flow or the heating or anything like that within our buildings that we are we are living in, or
Yeah,
habitats.
you perfectly summarize. I mean, what we're doing, decluttering. That's really the best practice you can do when it comes to feng shui. Clutter is the worst thing for feng shui. I mean,
so this brings another interesting question. So actually, just pinning you back though to where should we put the mirror in the bedroom, or should we have a mirror in the bedroom?
to
Is a
start
question
with,
as well.
too many mirrors. For feng shui, I mean, mirror is
Say that
number
again.
one.
Sorry, Zoom is catching up. So you shouldn't have too many mirrors.
You shouldn't have too many mirrors
Uh-huh.
because mirror in feng shui, they believe the energy reflects by mirror is not always good. But feng shui does recognize we need mirrors, and you want to have, like, in your living room, that's a good place, and bathroom, you need to have this kind of things. But if you have to have it in the bedroom, and not to have it facing you, like when you're sleeping, where you sort of wake up in the morning, if the first thing you wake up, you see mirror right in front of you, that's bring you sort of the negative energy. I was joking about is you don't want to see your face first thing in the mirror, but that's a joke. But truly, I mean, how many of us feel comfortable wake up first thing seeing the mirror facing you? I don't think a lot of people actually feeling comfortable. That's something you can't explain. Feng shui just, tells you why it's not good. Yeah.
I think for me, it's about like when you wake up, you're kind of in that blurry, it's that waking up mode, and to see yourself so straight is just, and so defined, it's just too much. And I'm really into sort of the blurry areas of our world, and sort of dawn and dusk, autumn and spring, and how that all sort of blurs. And I think probably for me, I have a mirror in my bedroom, but it's to the left of the bed, and I can use it to do my exercises in the morning, sun salutations, so I know. But it's not when I wake up. But we have another interesting question come in, Jane, which is, so in this country, many of you will know a book called Creating Sacred Space by Karen Kingston, which was a very small book and was very popular. It must be 10, 15 years old now. And curiously, she was the 100th member of APTO. And I know this because I was the 99th member.
Oh, is that right?
I wondered if I'd get like a 99 ice cream, but none of the Southerners got the joke. So I still am waiting for my 99 ice cream. But Karen was very pleased that she was number 100. Anyway, Karen Kingston did this book, and it's become quite significant. And what this questioner says is, if we've more stuff than the storage capacity of home, where do we start? Does feng shui have a method for creating order out of chaos before creating the sacred space? So how can you start if you just got too much stuff and it just seems completely chaotic? How can you start creating a sacred space if you just don't have the space to begin with?
I would say hallway is important for feng shui. Decluttering.
How?
Yeah. Well, to start with, the first thing you see is a hallway. If you feel quite negative, because most people, get in, that's the first thing you see. And before you get out, if you have clutter and disorganized hallway, you just ultimately, I mean, you just feel, uncomfortable, not in the right place. If you can, I would say that's the first room to start with. And one area people often ignore, but it's very important for feng shui to start with, is under your bed. I mean, storage is important for feng shui. That's good for our professional organizers, because storage is a very important part of feng shui. You don't want disorganized storage. That's where bad qi or bad energy gets in there. Just think about, I mean, how many of our viewers, sometimes you just get so annoyed when you can't find something, it's in there, you can't find something because you don't have the right storage system. So I would say these are areas you want to focus on, and decluttering really is the ultimate tool to feng shui. But really, we often get the impression feng shui is just about sort of interior, but really it's about your relationship with the environment. And that's why, sorry, Clara, you have...
Sorry, I was just going to say, so for you to give top tips to people to get started and feel a shift in energy, to shift maybe more negative chi and to have more positive chi, the hallway and under the bed.
Yeah.
And what about behind doorways? If people have stored things behind doorways and the doorways don't open fully, is that another
Very
topic?
good point. You just summarized perfectly. Be the top student in the class. Love that. Yeah, it's a very good point. I was about to say that. I have this little sort of device here, and I have all these sort of knickknacks, gadgets. I mean, we don't, all of us, we don't like clutter. So nothing in my home, unless I have clutter bowl, the smaller things. I don't store anything that is not beautiful or useful to me. So what this is a feng shui device. What it does is it goes behind my front door, and I don't store things behind my front door. I would say that's if you are so lucky enough to have a spacious hallway, I mean, declutter and get organized, get adequate storage. That's very important. But what if you don't have, like in our case, what we're doing, the renovation at the moment, is actually moving the front door. Yeah, it's some more structural change. So it doesn't open up this hallway, less positive energy so flow in, because at the moment, the front door, although it doesn't have, clutter issue, it opens, you see the staircase right in. What it does is like you can't actually keep your wells in this house. And the cheese sort of not flowing adequately by facing the staircase.
What is that little device? What's it called?
This thing, come to this thing. This is actually sort of, you see, this is ancient Chinese money. What it does, they say it's a feng shui device. You put behind the front door to actually get rid of, or help to balance, get rid of more of the bad qi, letting the good qi flow. But as someone who's also educated, I mean, I sort of started in Glasgow, educated in sort of so-called sort of modern academic disciplines. The way I see it is a constant reminder that this sort of setting is not good for saving money. So having this sort of money reminder here helps me to every time I'm sort of trying to, make a sort of purchase or spend money on something, it's a conscious sort of effort to tell me, is it really something you really need, or will it become clutter? That's how I see it. It's a reminder.
Thank you, Jane. We've only got about 4 minutes left, and I see Elaine really wants to come in. But before I let Elaine in, I just have to say,
just fly by like that.
It does fly by. It really does. But we've just had a wonderful communication. First of all, I hope it's Margaret in Livingston who asked the question about clutter in how you start. So thank you very much for that question. Thank you other people for their questions. So we have another one from Dawn in Glasgow, and she says that the new flat she's in has a hill behind houses to the front room, the river to the back of the building, and hills on the other side of the river. And she says, I feel so safe and happy in this flat ever since I viewed it. Thanks for that thought.
Wow.
And so you've just affirmed why she feels so good in that flat. So that just makes me feel so lovely and warm, and I'm so pleased. So pleased.
So lovely.
So we can celebrate that. And Elaine, you are burning to say something, so please jump in.
Yeah, so I found this little book here, and it was about Zen, which I think is part of the Buddhism type of learning. But also, just to go on what you're saying about the hallway, it says the most important room to start your Zen journey is with the hallway, and it's got a little. It's written. This one's written by a monk. This book's written by a monk. And he says, line up your shoes when you take them off, right? And he says, this will beautify your life. Disorder in your mind shows in your feet. And it's got a lovely little sort of drawing here that, I don't know if you can see it there. And it's got all the little shoes lined up.
That's pleasure only.
Yeah. So, that's going back to it. But yeah, I think everything that you say is so interesting, Jane. I think I've really enjoyed listening to, an expert telling us exactly why we do things and what we what we experience from life. And I've always felt a little bit of Zen in me. I think I always have, and I've lived in the mountains for many years, and I do feel safe in the thought of thinking about the mountains. And I think Scotland brings that to us. When we go out walking, we love walking in the mountains, and we've got lots of times we've got the mountains behind us and the little streams and rivers in front of us. So, you know, connection with nature for mental health, for our health in general.
That's so true. That's so true.
We can't hear you, Zem. We can't hear you,
You're on
Zem.
mute.
No, we can't hear you. We don't know where she is. She's disappeared. No, she's disappeared.
There we
Here we
go.
go. Sorry, I'm having technical issues.
That's
I was going
okay.
to say, what a wonderful flow of conversation. I've really enjoyed every aspect of what we've talked about. And next week, we've got someone else coming on the show. So, Clara, can you tell viewers who we've got next week?
Yes. Firstly, quickly, thank you so much, Jane. I've loved listening to everything you've had to say. And next week, we've got Nina Robertson coming on, who some of you may remember. You saw Nina's garden in progress. She made something from nothing, a tenement ground floor, small area flat in the flat. Nina is also an artist, so she has been experiencing lockdown as a solo person, because I think a lot of the time we've heard from people who are sharing their homes with other people during lockdown, and it'll be interesting for us to hear from someone who is living as a solo person in their own home. And she'll be talking about that, about moving her art teaching onto Zoom. She'll be talking about the garden and the progress of creating a joyful space that people can enjoy, and making mosaic, and the donation she's had from her community for that mosaic work.
Wonderful.
Well, we very much look forward to that. And please, Jane, thank you ever so much. So that's Jane Zhang of Serenity Organising Space up in Dunfermline. And we've got Elaine of Clear Mountain Decluttering, and Clara of Joy of Space, and myself of Clutter Chat. And we are just so overjoyed of the viewers, of you watching it. And please do message us in any questions for next week, and we will endeavour to try and cover them. Jane, do you have any last words?
I just enjoy so much. I just want to thank you all for inviting me. Thank you very much.
Remember to subscribe. Remember to subscribe.
Yes, subscribe to Clutter Talk, and you can get some top tips, particularly from Elaine, on how to sort of organise your life, and from other people as well. All right then.